Thanks everybody for being here. I'm Yair Klyman. I'm a member here, I guess. So first, before we get started, I know we're here for laughs. I just want to say, take a moment of silence. One for all our lost family, our taken family, and for our 312 soldiers that have tragically given their youth and their lives for us. Thank you. Mike, we know you moved to Connecticut, or you're moving to Connecticut, that you bought a house, so any real estate agents, you're out of business. So we want to give you a beer cut buy it for your new home.
Oh, man. I really appreciate that.
Thank you for everything you do. Rabbi Steinmetz, the senior rabbi of KJ, has always said, keep giving. This is for you. Thank you for everything you do.
Now you're definitely invited again.
Now I get cheaper membership. So I love podcasts, and we have an amazing podcast. We've been chasing Michael Rapaport. So I said, let's get 500 people together. Maybe I could get Michael Rapaport to join the podcast. So thanks, Mike, for coming.
Glad to be on the podcast.
There's doctors here. Mike, you okay?
Yes.
He has some CTD, Celtic deranged syndrome. CDS.
Yes,
deranged syndrome.
Celtic derangement syndrome and inflammation. I don't know if maybe you could give me a 2-for-1 prescription.
Yeah, any doctors can do that for Mike. Quickly run a quick prescription. How you feeling after that?
It was tough. Celtic derangement syndrome, Knicks fan, the whole thing. I have all Boston sports derangement syndrome. I don't know if they have a lacrosse team, Red Sox, the whole thing. So yeah, that was a tough go of it last night, but it's fine. It's fine.
All right, so before we get started, I got a lot of questions.
Okay.
First question, you are the master of nicknames. Who is your inspiration for your nicknames? And can you give us a couple of the nicknames? I love Mitch the Glitch, but give us a couple of your nickname inspirations.
Well, I don't know if I could say all of my nicknames in here because that's why I tend to. Oh man, there's a few. Oh man, that's a good question. Oh, who? I mean, since you said sports, I affectionately gave Tom Brady Botox Brady, avocado ice cream face Brady, because that face is just. I want some avocado ice cream and some Tom Brady stuff. I got a lot of nicknames. I just don't know if I could say them in here to keep things unpoliticized. I tend to come up with the best ones regarding politicians, and you know what they are.
Not all of them.
Yeah, but yeah. Let me see if anything pops into my head that's PG-13 or just PG or R. I don't know if there's like not NC-17.
Yeah, we got to keep it light.
Yes.
So you know, in the contract, when we were like, Mike can't curse, and he's like, I don't know if I can even come to this show anymore.
Yeah, I get that all the time. People always, whenever I do an appearance on live TV, the actual lawyers will come down and say, it's live. And I go, I know it's live. I know what you're going to say. I get it. You go back to wherever you came from, lawyer. Like, why are you here? We're at the Jimmy Fallon show. What is there a lawyer doing here? But yes, I'm a trained professional. I will not curse. I'm sure somebody else will curse before I do. I'm comfortable not cursing. I am proud that I've never cursed on live TV, despite the Vegas betting odds are always against me. But one thing about the social media stuff, just to sort of jump into, is that all of it is it's sort of a performance art. When it's about things about sports, when it's things about popular culture, the thing about the social media for me since October 7th, and all anti-Jewish stuff, which I've been speaking out. The first time that I said something publicly about anti-Semitism, I just like to call it anti-Jewish because, this anti-Semitism, anti-Zionist, we all know you're talking about the Jews. So I just like to it's anti-Jewish of some sort. But the first time that I actually spoke out about something that wasn't popular culture related or lighthearted was after Charlottesville when those Tiki Torch college kids, I don't know what, they seemed old. They seemed like they were college dropouts. But they were saying Jews will not replace us, Jews will not replace us. And that was the next morning. And I had, the crazy thing about social media, even Mr. 17 million views, there's no predicting it, Mikey.
He ran out, by the way.
He left. He was good. I said, this ain't, you made people laugh here, you're good. Because this is not an easy crowd to do stand-up. They tried to get me to do stand-up comedy. I said, that ain't happening.
About 10 minutes before the show, by the way, he said, "Help."
Yeah, I said, that's 100%. Definitely, this is a tough crowd for that. But that was the first time that I spoke out about anything socially in regards to social, it being a performance art. For me, like after October 7th, I did not expect anything but people. It's like I assumed everybody would be upset, screaming, yelling, crying, raging about what had happened on October 7th. And since then, we all know that the twists and turns of where Jews and where Zionists stand in the world has taken, probably that's the more surprising part of this whole time is that the response or lack of response, or the disrespectful responses, or the denying responses of all those things. And that's why, in regards to my volume being turned up, somebody asked me, you didn't say, talk so much about being, Jewish, before October 7th. I said, we weren't under attack,
Yeah, you didn't feel it.
Like a full attack, before October 7th during my lifetime.
So what were your most impactful part of your multiple trips to Israel? Because you were a person before, and you had the relationship with Israel before on October 6th, and then October 7th changed you.
Yeah.
As it changed all of us, but changed you in a different level than most people, as you thought everybody would be changed, but you were impacted in such a dramatic way. Why? And what was the most powerful part of your trips?
Well, it's hard to say what the most powerful part of the trips were. Obviously, the hostages was and is of the utmost concern and stress. It's just of the utmost concern, to me. And I saw and met and smelled and felt. And when I say smelled, because when I went to Kibbutz Be'eri, and that was, I went there the first day. It was like within the first few hours that I got there, and seeing that in November, and still smelling the smoke in the area from the homes that had been burned to the ground, and having rockets and missiles going off while we were going through these such humble working class homes, and to see the devastation and see the brutalization, that was impactful on a level. One of the most impactful conversations that I had with a woman was when I first got there that same day. I landed, I believe at like 4:30 in the morning, and we were driving by the hostage square. Now, this is my first time in Tel Aviv in my life. And
couldn't afford the ticket, or
say it again.
Couldn't afford the ticket.
Couldn't afford the ticket. But we pulled over, and obviously there's no one there. It's 5:30 in the morning. It's like the sun has not even come up yet, and you're walking around and you're seeing all these faces plus more, and all these shrines and posters, and you could feel the heartbreak and the devastation, and no one was there. And a woman, an older woman, happened to be walking her dog, and she recognized me from. She wasn't sure who I was, but and I told her, I said, I'm not actually. Oh, I said, how you doing? And she was probably like 67 years old. I think that's what I remember. She told me. I said, how you doing? And she said, in not perfect English, not good. Look what they've done to my country. Like what have they done to my country? And she turned out to have been a woman named Pearl, and she's born in Brazil, a Brazilian Jew, and she, has lived in Israel so much. And just seeing that, and hearing her say that, and seeing her cry, and this is, no one in her family had died, but she just was so heartbroken about what happened. And it was just that first trip and the trips afterwards, the conversations, the laughs, because the beauty of the Jewish people is there is light. And that light cannot be taken away from us. So throughout all these very, very hard conversations and the devastation and meeting hostage families and taking on, trying to, be an advocate or a voice for them when so many people aren't, all those conversations and all those moments, and even the levity, because there's been a lot of laughs and a lot of friendships formed during these 3 trips. It's been 3 trips now. It has been impactful. It's been a lot, and it's been very beautiful. But obviously, it's we talked about being light. Like make it light. And you had Mikey do comedy. It's hard for me to be light these days. It's been really, really, really hard to be light.
It's very draining. It's very draining right now because there's so much hate and there's so much darkness. But I say all the time, they want to diminish our darkness, and we can't let it.
Well, it's not happening.
It's not happening, and it will never happen.
Yeah.
You say a lot that don't doubt yourself.
Yes.
The Jewish people do not doubt yourself.
Yes.
And it's so powerful to so many people because that's what happens. They make us doubt even ourselves, even our strongest and most powerful, and even to you, who people think you're untouchable. It's showing that you even feel doubt sometimes, but then you go back and you meet these people and you do events like this and we all re-engage, and that's the point of tonight, is to re-engage everybody so we get past all these doubts, and you're that inspiration for so many people. Your kids are in college age,
mm-hmm.
and you've been very outspoken. It's very hard, as Tal said so beautifully, seeing her child. Did you have a conversation with your children before you took your stance, and how are they managing?
Well, the stance just happened. Like the stance and my reaction on social media and the first sort of video about it just happened. Obviously I've spoken to my kids a lot about it. The idea of doubt. I'm 54, I think it sounds like a cliche, but I think in general, in life in general, confidence, self-confidence, and pushing through doubt and pushing through, feeling less than and all that stuff in general is something that I'm aware of, and I have the conversations with myself. In regards to being Jewish, when you say they want us to doubt ourselves, they want us to doubt facts, they want us to doubt history, they want us to doubt our Judaism, they want us to doubt how proud we are with our Judaism. They want us to doubt Israel. They want us to doubt the government of Israel. They want us to doubt the IDF. They want us to doubt each other. They want us to doubt our community. And for me, one of the most important things is arming myself with the facts and the history and the knowledge and the relationships and the community, so there is no doubt, especially for younger Jewish people. I'm a grown man, I'm on the other side of that, it's not important, but the younger people, it's of the utmost important, because what it means to be Jewish in the world, and what it means to be Jewish, let's just say in the United States, and more specifically what it means to be Jewish here in New York City, is changing and evolving moment to moment, minute to minute. You had a bunch of people get on a train in our city last week and say, are there any Zionists on the car? And, whether there was or there wasn't, that's a bullying, broad, offensive, just disgusting, display. And it's bullies. But that question and that idea of what kind of Jew are you? And what they're meaning is, are you a free Palestine Jew? Are you a Zionist? Are you a proud Jew? These questions are coming up for Jewish people going forward. And, we need to prepare ourselves and, more importantly, prepare our younger people to be able to answer that, not necessarily literally, but that will come up also, but also figuratively and also quietly, to be able to be proud, strong, loud, and be able to fight. And I don't mean physically. It's almost like an inner fight, with yourself to be able to stand up, because, if you're Jewish and you're going to whatever one of these universities next semester, what you're perceived as a Jewish person is changed forever. Forever. And we just can't fight that. And that's why I talk about the doubting yourself and not doubting yourself. And I've been questioned. I've had relationships with friends 30 years that are fractured, that I don't see recovering.
You have 550 friends in here.
I know that.
And 550 very proud Zionists in here that will never doubt their Judaism.
Yeah. Thank you. It's very important to be in tune with yourself and be in tune with your confidence and just be in tune with who you are and where you stand, because they're questioning it. They're going to be questioning it.
So what was a defining moment in your life that taught you how to be so resilient in the face of all these challenges? I mean, there's these moments that you draw from when things are challenging. Where do you get that push from? I mean, Hollywood and acting.
No, that's before that. No,
I'm saying that's not easy. Yeah. So that came from somewhere. What was that defining moment for you?
I don't think it's a defining moment. I will say, in regards to being Jewish, I grew up literally on 77th in New York. This is my neighborhood. Like, I know this neighborhood like the back of my hand. Every crack corner, every building. Like, I know, like, this is where I'm from. Like, the Upper East Side is where I'm from. My father grew up on the West Side. My father's 91, he didn't emphasize Judaism in our home. My mother's Jewish from Lawrence, Long Island. So that's a very, very, very specific type of Jewish woman.
There's a few of them in here.
That should be like its own like category. Like when you're filling out like Long Island Jew, female, like that's like, oh shit, that's like triple Jew. It's like,
Sorry, Rabbi.
Sorry.
Kiss the bima.
Long Island Jewish women are a serious, serious group. Born and raised Long Island. I love them. I'm scared of all of you.
You can call my wife.
Yeah, she Long Island Jew.
You have no idea.
Oh, I know I do. My mother's from, yes.
Yeah, it's a lot of guilt.
I know exactly what it is.
It's a young age.
Yeah, it's very tenacious person. Anyway, my father, it wasn't emphasized. I always led with, I'm Jewish. I'm a very traditional bagel, cream cheese, and lox Jew. They say bagel, lox Jew. I am a everything bagel toasted with lox, maybe possibly some white fish, schmear, onions, capers, and tomato Jew. Like the bagel and lox, I don't know who eats bagel and lox.
You do have that complexion of that caper.
H&H bagel, yes.
The eyes are the capers.
Yes,
you have the whole vibe.
Yes.
And the kippah on top, so it's toasted.
Yes. This is the everything bagel. But one of the things one of the stories that my father told me and has told me gazillion times, because he repeats his stories. But one of his famous stories was growing up on the Upper West Side, and this is pre-World War II. But there were a bunch of Irish kids that were coming down, and bullying the Jewish kids. And one day my father, said, "I'll fight you." And when he turned around to look at all his friends had gone, they left. But he fought the lead.
It's kind of like the actors.
Exactly. But he fought this kid in their gang. Now this is like some Little Rascal stuff, but they were 9 years old, and he fought the leader of their gang to a draw. But he always emphasized to me, don't be scared. Don't be a scared Jew. And as much as my father loved the performance of the stereotypes of the great iconic actors, whether the Woody Allens, the Larry Davids, that persona in Hollywood. My father said to me, and he said it to me for some reason. He said, when you don't do that. When you start acting like, don't be like that. So I never wanted to like just fall into those traps. But that was the gist of, like my father, sort of drilling Judaism into me. There was just those things, but they resonated, very, very deeply in me. And like I said, whenever I've seen, heard other people under siege, whether it's Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ, abortion, whatever it is, certainly things in politics, I've always spoken up. So when it was time to speak up for us, for myself, to speak up as a Jewish person, like that just came natural. And I think that it would be so few of us in my business speaking up, because that's been very disappointing and at times embarrassing.
It's sad, honestly.
It's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing for the community that stands up for everybody, and they're supposed to be leaders, and we look up to them, and kids look up to them.
Actors and artists, historically, whether it's Marlon Brando, Harry Belafonte in the 60s, Paul Newman speaking up, whether it's more recent, we're talking about, climate change, women's pay, pigeons dying, trees falling, penguins with, a bad knee. Actors will drone on about everything and anything at the award shows. And to see these award shows, and there's 5 or 6 of them, the award season, to not see one person say the word hostages, and the only person who said anything was a Jewish director who made a Holocaust movie to refute his Judaism, and that hurt. But what hurt just as much was the people in the audience clapping.
Yeah.
That I was like, and for a moment I had a crisis, because I was like, these are I know these people.
Yeah, these are your friends.
This is what I do for a living.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is an embarrassment. It was embarrassing that I was part of this community who says something about everything, but said nothing about this. Nothing. It confused me.
It's I think a standing ovation is necessary.
No.
But you have so many followers, new people that love you. Your career is pretty resilient.
Yeah.
And you keep pushing through.
Yeah.
Why do you have such a resilient career? Like, how did you build such a resilient career? And on the hater side, you've had a bunch of haters that you never had.
Yes.
How do you manage that?
Well, as far as the resilience, that goes with, just, it is, like a belief, because, like in any business, you have to keep pushing, keep evolving. In show business, it's easy to get cast away, and people get comfortable with you, and and they want the new thing, and blah 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 blah, and to just have belief in yourself and creativity, and push yourself and challenge yourself and challenge the stereotypes that people might have of you, and then as far as the social media haters, there's some people, and there's some very vocal people on social media who talk on social media. It's like, if a stranger comes up to me on the street and says they love something I've been in, I appreciate that, and I give them the utmost time and respect, and it doesn't resonate with me in terms of, it doesn't dictate who and how I think about myself. Because if that same person says I suck, or thinks I suck, or I know when I suck, they emphasize that, I'm not going to let that go either, because what's their opinion? Their opinion and their taste, who cares? And, when it comes to the social media hate, politically, in the last, election, I spoke out a lot, and I'll be honest, as many death threats as I've gotten in the DMs, I call them death threat in the DMs, if you talk about politics, that's even more than talking about being Jewish, because I've sort of weighed them. Those people are crazier. But I just don't, it doesn't affect me because I don't believe them. I don't care what their thoughts or opinions are. I don't care what they believe, what they don't believe. And I also know, you know, the majority of them are fake accounts. And the ones that are real accounts, like, you know, you've had at least 9 months now. I mean, at least 8 months. We're heading into 9 months to educate yourself in some way, shape, or form. If you're still talking about these made up things about genocide, apartheid, occupation after 8.5 months, then why am I talking to you? Because it's like talking to a crazy person on the corner. Like, I'm
like
not
talking to homeless people.
Yeah, I'm not talking displaced. You got to say displaced.
I thought it was outdoorsman. I thought Seinfeld sounds outdoorsman.
However it is.
More politically correct.
Yes.
I'll kiss the beam on this time.
But I'm not gonna lie and say that when there's onslaughts or when I say things and I'm not aware of it. I'm aware of all of it. It just doesn't dictate me going forward. It certainly doesn't dictate me going forward on the anti-Semitism, the anti-Jewishness, and fighting on behalf, in little way that I can, on behalf of the hostages that, breaks my heart every single day.
Every minute. So I served as an IDF lone soldier, and I've been very outspoken. I was on the Gaza border. I've been in Beirut 100 times as a soldier, just as an American or Canadian. My dad's proud of his Canadian roots. If you ever meet a Canadian and you find that, introduce them to another Canadian and then leave the conversation because it's a 2.5-hour reminiscence of Canada back in the glory days. Yeah, my dad doesn't let me forget my Canadian roots.
Don't forget his accent came out of him. Don't forget it.
Don't you do it. So we've had some lawsuits. We've had people that have fired us as their advisors. I had somebody say to us, "Hey, I have a problem with you being a Jew," and I said, "I have a problem with you being a client."
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
That's a good answer.
And that was an instantaneous. You've had cancellations.
Yes. Yep.
What allows you to speak out in spite of that risk of losing business?
Yeah, I've had shows canceled. It's been 3 shows that were canceled. And, what allows me to speak out is because I can, and I must, and I can, and it's the least I can do. Speaking out, it's what I truly believe in, and I have to. I just have to. I have to. It seems, if to use your platform, to use my platform, it's just who I am. Like what you see on social media. That's just who I am. It's not who I am all the time because people do come up to me early morning at a Starbucks and they'll
Crazy
just
people.
No.
The outdoor. What do you call them? Outdoorsmen?
Yes.
What is that politically correct?
No, but people come up to me, they'll think any time of the day, like, "Yo, Rapaport, what the F is going on?" And I'm like, "It's 7. I don't even have the black coffee in my hand." Like, but the sort of what that feeling in regards to Israel, in regards to Judaism, anti-Semitism, that is, you're seeing what you see is what you get. Like that's how I feel. And in some ways I feel lucky to have had social media because, at times I know, like so many people, you feel like you're going crazy, and what I'm dealing with, I could just say for myself, what I'm dealing with is nothing compared to the Nutra family from Long Island, the IDF soldiers, the parents of them, the concern, the wives of IDF soldiers, the 1,200 plus people who were murdered on October 7th who haven't even had a chance to mourn. I know there's been funerals and all that stuff, but how can you mourn when the world is it's like we're in a spin cycle. Being Jewish, we're like in this spin cycle. How can you mourn when this is still going on? How can you mourn as a family when your relative has been verified as killed, but he's not with you? That's no way to rest. So how I keep going when I do get what they call Israel fatigue is I just don't think about myself and I go, I have to speak on this person's behalf. This person asked me to speak on that person's behalf. As frustrating as social media is, it does inspire me to go forward.
It's amazing that you don't even think about the cancellations. You just keep going.
The cancellation, I haven't done anything wrong.
Of course.
The people that, when you talk about tradition.
You've done everything right.
I'm trying, but when you talk about people that have been canceled, you could say, well, this person, they might have taken it too far with this person, but there's some sort of inciting incident. All I'm doing is saying Jews are not going anywhere and Israel ain't going anywhere. That's really like all I'm saying for the most part. I've turned the volume up because we're being attacked and everything we do is being questioned. And the way, some of these people, the protests, the anti-Jewish, the anti-Zionist, the genocide, these words that they're throwing on, like I like to sort of combat it back and ask questions back. But, at the end of the day, even throughout that, I focus on, other people that are suffering and that are through such heartbreak, confusion, and demoralization every single day. That's what I try to focus on.
It's amazing. Have you changed the way you look at your career now? And did you always think being an actor required you to make a stand about world issues?
Nope. Never thought it. Never crossed my mind. Like I said, the first serious thing I said was after Charlottesville. If you look up any interview, talk show, I've never mentioned anything about anything. Charlottesville, like Jews will not replace us. I was like, first of all, if we're replacing anybody, we ain't replacing you. Your life is nothing envious about it. Like, we have plenty of, you don't have to worry about us coming for whatever the hell you're into. And I didn't think that, and I didn't. It was really, when I felt, attacked, when I felt like we're attacked, walking in the Upper East Side, every single day I walk, whether it's a long walk or short walk. To this day, I took photos this morning, to see, the Beavis Babies poster defamed and defaced and scratched through. I'm just like, as a New Yorker, post 9/11, when there was, still people trying to figure out where their loved ones were, where there was missing posters all over the city, you never would have saw anyone rip down one of those posters, let alone rip it down. It gets put up, rip it down again. It gets put up, spray paint over vandalize. You never would have saw that. And to not say anything, it just seems like, how could you not say anything? And as far as the canceling and the career and all that stuff, like, it's all going to be what it's going to be. I don't doubt my talent, and I'm very clear. Like, you cancel for what? You can't. Like, at least that's how I feel. Like, I feel like, what? Cancel what? Like, what did I do? I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
But when we get shows canceled, I got shows in Michigan, the suburbs of Michigan, right outside of Dearborn. I'll leave it at that. They were threatening the venue, threatening the workers of the venue, threatening me to come there. And, I got a private security group, Israeli private security group that were just happy to do it because, they understood what was going on. And at a certain point, the venue chose, even though it was against what they wanted to, they chose not to do it. Same thing happened in Illinois. Is it, Jewish people that work there, and they're like, they're threatening our waitresses, they're threatening our barbacks, they're getting in contact with them, threatening them on social media. They're not going to come in, so they pulled the plug on that. But what bothered me more than the show getting canceled, what bothered me more than the plans and my schedule getting screwed up and the little bit of loss of money was what really made me embarrassed and concerned is if there's so many people that are, well, what should I say? Should I not say anything? Should I just not say anything? And I was like, and I am like, because this just happened. If they're going to cancel me and cancel my shows, and you're the biggest mouth of them all, what's going to happen to us if we just post a flag or post, a yellow ribbon. And I didn't want anyone else to feel vulnerable that something bad would happen to them in regard to being canceled. I didn't want that to happen.
You took the responsibility of everybody behind you. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean,
You're leading.
it concerned me that, other people would be scared to speak up. Like them going after Jerry Seinfeld. Whether you're the biggest Jerry Seinfeld fan or you're like, he's not my top 5 comedians, but he's someone I really like. Everybody has to have respect for Seinfeld. Everybody has laughed at Seinfeld. Everybody has enjoyed an episode of Seinfeld, or a skit from Seinfeld. And for them to go after him simply because he's Jewish, they're trying to set a precedent. They're trying to intimidate the top of the top. Jerry Seinfeld doesn't even curse in 40 years as a comedian. It's literally like trying to cancel Santa Claus or Mr. Rogers. It doesn't get more across the board beloved outside of the Jewish community. Like Seinfeld is like, the reason why he's, so rich is because that show resonated with the entire world. But if they're going after him simply because he's Jewish, it's intimidating. But you have to just make a decision to stand up and say what's right, because it's time.
It's amazing. I have a few more questions if everyone's okay. All right? All right, let's keep going. Mike?
Yeah.
You good? You have a weird relationship now with religion. I see you posting. You have if anyone sees Michael's page, it's like him with like a Hasidic hat on. He's like a black hatter from 5 Towns. 5 Towns? 5 Towns? It's probably that. He's a black hatter.
I think it's Bay Ridge.
It's Bay Ridge. But so you're doing that, you're putting on tefillin every day.
Yeah.
What happened to your religion pre-October 7th? And why are you so engaged right now to spirituality and religion?
It's a good question. It's not it's not an easy answer. Like I said, Judaism was more of a cultural thing in my life. It was just a cultural thing. My brother was bar mitzvahed. I went to Hebrew school for one day and was asked not to come back. I'll just leave it at that. But it wasn't an emphasis. My father is his face alone is as Ashkenazi as it gets. We are Jews. But the way I was raised, it just was not emphasized. It was not emphasized in our home, outside of culture, and who we led with that, especially growing up in New York as a blonde, because there's people, like my hair was more red. They were like, what are you, you Irish? And I was like, no, I'm Jewish. But it was never any anti-Semitism and any stuff like that. The journey, I made a joke about John, and going to the Shabbat when I moved back to New York full time. My wife, she, had started putting the battery in my back, a few years before that, and just, celebrating Shabbat in the home, and, Passover, and she was a big part of that as well. And the Kushner's Shabbat dinner, was a welcome to the Jewish. It's such a beautiful thing, because that's such a Jewish thing to come up to somebody on the streets of New York and say, will you come to my house for Shabbat? And that's such a beautiful thing. And it resonated with us, and they weren't crazy, and the food was ridiculous, by the way.
She does have a big following.
No, let me tell you something.
Check out her Instagram.
If a crazy guy comes up to you and says, my wife is a cook, you want to go to Shabbat Friday, just go for the food alone. Because the food was unbelievable. But, speaking up against the anti-Semitism with the Kanye West stuff, because that was a big thing too, because I was very offended by that. And, my wife and her studying and her pushing, and it was this perfect storm. And then going to Israel. And then as far as the tefillin and the spirituality of it, it's getting older. It's in my gut. It's in my soul. It's who I am. And, as little time as I spent in Israel, and as little time as I spent, regarding the religious part of being Jewish, in the first part of my life, I know that the second part of my life will be filled with that. And I love it. And the tefillin, the tefillin came about, and I just, I love doing that. I actually look forward to it and miss it on Saturdays and miss it during the holidays because especially during this time, it's such a chaotic time. It's such a frustrating time. It's such a demoralizing time. It's such a heartbreaking time. To have that 3 to 5 minutes where it's just quiet and that practice and that it's like a a meditative experience for me. So to have those 5 minutes and to myself where it's just quiet and it's just that is a really, really special time. And I'll never forget the time that I've been spending doing it. It's been just such a, I really wish that I had that alone my whole life. Because especially, listen, I wake up on 11, I'm like, this is before the coffee. I wake up charged up. So to have that, it really helps me slow down and, get in touch with myself and get in touch with my Judaism and think of everybody else besides me.
It reminds me of a podcast we did with the Lubin family, if anyone's familiar. A young Chayalet Boded, lone soldier, on October 12th, around that time, she was murdered in the old city. She was for Magav. She actually saved Kibbutz Saad, if anyone's familiar. She closed the gate, and she opened the gate, and she let in a couple hundred people from the Nova Festival, and she closed the gate herself, and the gate was so heavy that Hamas couldn't open it. This girl's like 4'2". She looked tall like a giant, and she got murdered a few days after. And her father said to us, she didn't speak lashon hara, which is the evil tongue, which is speaking gossip, is really what it is. And we took that on ourselves. And these people gave you something to take with yourself. And it's
so much.
It's amazing.
So much, beyond belief. So much to take. So much to take, and I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, it's amazing. What do we do to engage your peers? What can we do to help you to engage your peers to speak up and take action like you?
I don't think what I do on social media will engage my peers. I think what we can do is, and I spoke to a very, very smart friend of mine who has a polling group that figures out, engagement and how to engage in social media engagement. At the end of the day, I think the more conversations you could have with people and the more open you can be within those conversations with people with opposing points of views, I don't think if somebody's going like this way, I don't think you're going to make them turn around and go that way. I don't think that. Outside of Jews, because the confused as a Jews, I don't know what that. I don't even. Some of them I don't even want to talk to. They make me sick, especially at this time. I'm sorry. I don't disparage them publicly.
We can disparage them.
No, I don't disparage them publicly, and I don't name names. And in my peers, the actors that have made their careers off of leading with their Judaism, who they make all the shtick that's great. All the jokes and all the self-deprecating, neurotic jokes that we love, that are fantastic. And they're important because they're true, they're our culture, they're our humor. But those ones that haven't said a word or have said worse, Michael, right now, I don't have the patience for them. But in the real world, and at the end of the day, it's like, I made a joke when we talk about these award shows, if Joe Schmo actor gets up there and talks about the trees, or, Joe Schmo actor gets up there and talks about, women's pay, it resonates. But a lot of times we're like, just get off the stage, take your award, So, it's a question that I get asked all the time about your peers. This doesn't matter. The more important thing are the smaller conversations, the people you work with, the people in your bodega, the people in your coffee shop. If you could have some sort of conversation, or when you go in there, even the tiniest thing. I was talking to this gentleman, Tom, who's the head of Chabad of all the universities. I know, John, you're talking to a guy like the head of the universities, Chabad. This is where my life is at now.
This is what happens.
So I was talking to him.
This is what Chabad does.
Yes, I love Chabad and I love this guy. But he said, carry yourself in a way that, especially now, when they see a Jew, they see our light in any way, shape, or form. Those little things I think help. And they've made, as somebody like who's, drags my feet and screams down the street and all that stuff. It's made me, be more aware of, putting out a good presentation for all of us in the smallest ways. Even if it's a smile in the face of somebody who's, might have a pin on that this free watermelon stuff. You can tell I'm trying not to curse.
You've done a good job.
Thank you.
You've done very good.
I appreciate that. But I think that's the best way. And if you do, like conversations, the reason I brought up the woman who I know does the polling, she said when you have quiet conversations with real people and it's a real listening and it's a real giving and taking, that's really the best way to engage some sort of change or open-mindedness. That is the best way, I think.
I think that's what we all do. We're all advocates. Everybody in this room is an advocate for ourselves, our community, our friends, our family, and that's what we're doing here tonight.
My business is full of kooks and lunatics,
they're going through this podcast game.
They're really wacky. Even before this, they're whacked. I'm crazy. You're talking to a crazy person.
There is no question that you're crazy. That's not a debate. But you built this new tribe of people who love and care about you.
Yes. Thank you. And that's very meaningful to me.
So what's the next stage for you? And what will you do with this new following?
Well, there is no next stage until the hostages are released. There is no next stage for me personally until the hostages are released and until Hamas is eradicated. I can't move forward, and I try to move forward. And that doesn't mean I don't, work and I don't function. But in regards to, I can't move forward until that happens. I can't move forward until that happens. I can't think about the next stage. I stay creative. I do all my creative, artsy, actory, podcast, comedian stuff. But has it hampered me creatively? A little bit, but I know that there'll be some good creative stuff for it. But as far as, what's the next stage? What's the next thing? As far as being Jewish and speaking out, I will always do that. I will always, I understand, I never would have imagined when I started speaking out after October 7th that I would be this sort of face of this and that people would come up to me and thank me, because there's nothing to thank me. I'm doing what, like I said, everybody, I would expect and think everybody should do or could do. And, I scream, like I said, there's other ways to fight, whether it's with your money, there's other ways to fight, with your soul, with praying. There's different ways to fight, and you should try to do a little bit of all of it. But, I never would have imagined that I would sort of be this voice for us, and that this voice for us in show business would be needed, or this loud voice would be needed, because there's when I was at the DC rally, which seems like 15 years ago, I think there was some people that were at this DC rally and it was 300,000, 400,000. It was great. And I'll tell you a story and you probably, be done, but, they had asked me to speak because I had been speaking up on social media. And I said, you want me to speak? All right, who else is speaking? And the original lineup was very political. It was Biden and this one and that one. I was like, what the hell? I'm not speaking. I'm not going up. This is, first of all, I don't want be up in, it seemed like a political thing. Second of all,
It was
it's like,
almost as scary as standing up in the shul and doing
100%.
It's almost as bad.
And it just seemed like, what am I got nothing. It's like, what am I going up there? And then, my friend was like, don't speak, let's just go. And then I was like, I don't even want to go. She was like, let's just go. So we got there, it was a beautiful day. We were sitting in the VIP section, and, I was seeing these politicians. The former it girl of the Republican Party, George Santos, was there, and I was like, "Look at George Santos." But I was like, it was like we were off to the side, and I was like seeing all these politicians, and the energy of the people speaking. It was the majority of them. It was very sweet, but nobody said, no one said what needed to be said was. There ain't going to be no ceasefire until these hostages are confused. Like you're getting the steps wrong. So while we were hanging out there, they were like, why are you here? I thought you weren't speaking. And anyway, I went up there and spoke. And I said in front of 300,000 people in the world, I was like, there ain't going to be no ceasefire until the hostages come home. And I cursed because I wasn't in shul. And, but when I walked away, me and my wife, we were talking, and we were like, that was great. And I said, but why am I talking? Out of all the people in Hollywood, why am I doing this? There's a pecking order. There's big people that could have went up there, and they don't have to be bombastic or say anything about ceasefires or hostages. They could get up there and be like, yo, I'm here to support and sing a song, or I'm here to support and do whatever they do. And no one said anything. And that moment kind of made me realize that, this is it. This is where it is. Like, this is in my business. But don't worry too much about these actors and these celebrities and these musicians. It's offensive when they're against us. It's offensive when the Jewish ones refute their Judaism. But don't worry about them too much. They don't affect who we vote for. Don't worry about it. It's disappointing and it's embarrassing, especially for the Jewish ones. But don't worry about them. They're going to have to live with that on their own.
Yeah. I want to do a viral moment.
Yeah.
But you have to say yes, whatever my request is.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. If everyone can take out their phones and turn their video on. Zoom in to this beautiful cream cheese bagel with lox, capers.
Everything bagel.
Everything
Toasted.
bagel. Toasted with the yarmulke now. Mike.
Yes.
When you move out, can you please do your iconic laugh? But you got to do it loud and standing.
Loud and standing.
Loud and standing.
All right. I'm only doing this because, well, how could you not do this in front of this fantastic audience? All right, all right, this, all right, this is okay.
Thank you, Michael. And we want to give you one award. You announced in 2024 you are going to be the most outspoken Jew in the world.
Yes.
And that you want to take that award, and you have blown away the competition. Thank you, Michael, for everything you do. Thank you to the Israel-American Council for standing up and fighting and putting our dollars and our passion behind you. Thank you to Rabbi Steinmetz and the KJ community for being a proud supporter for Israel. Thank you for the 550 proud Zionists that are here today supporting us together. We love you. We appreciate you. We're coming back. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.